The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
The Canucks might have lost game 5, but it's all good because guess what? Quinn Hughes is going to win the Norris and the Conn Smythe. Locked on Canucks, baby.
Hey, maybe Zadorov has a chance too, man.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What did your boy Beggsy say before the series started? I said Canucks in 6, and I'm sticking with it. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks writer for Daily Hive Vancouver, still banging out those post-game articles, okay? And I can't wait to bang out the series clinching post-game article for Game 6. Before we dive into today's episode, we got to thank you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks, because it is your Canucks every damn day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And if you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Make sure you go subscribe, follow, like us, leave a review, do it all out of the good of your heart, wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Before we dive into the autopsy of Game 5, gotta let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download that Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. You know what, Kyle? This series has been strange in a number of ways. You could argue that over the last 4 games, the team that deserved to win ended up losing the game, and it was the same last night. Also, no third period lead is safe in the NHL, and especially in this series. And you know what? Lots to get into last night, including some fiery comments from all of Tocchet, Miller, and Zadorov. Let's break it all down for you listening right now. Before we do that, let me introduce my co-host, Kyle Bowen, who you might have been even more pissed off than Rick Tocchet last night, buddy. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I was emotional. I was sad. Pissed off is a strong statement, for real, but I'm a little confused. Am I confused because I don't know what Tocchet Science is? Yes, Tocchet Science, not rocket science, but Tocchet Science. Yeah, a little, not going to lie. But I think I'm more pissed off at the fact, man. 91 shots on goal in 5 games. I don't know how to say this. That's embarrassing. Straight up, that is. Oh, but Kyle, how about Nashville? They only got 22 last game, blah, blah, blah. Dude, name me 7 players on the Nashville Predators forward group, okay? And if you can name me their top 5 forwards, put that up against the Canucks top 5 forwards. And then try to complain to me about my angst against how the Canucks are shooting the puck on net this series. It's embarrassing. 91 shots, or 92 shots, I'm sorry, in 5 games. Man, oh man, that is the biggest reason why the Canucks are in this predicament, aka up 3-2, going into Game 6 in their first playoff series in like 46 years. That's a predicament. Oh my God, I'm so emotional, man. I'm so emotional. Man, oh man, you know what, Trevor? I got to say this too, okay? Now let's talk about Rick Tocchet in the first 10 minutes of this conversation, okay? Do you wish Rick Tocchet was more emotional on the bench? You know how he's so even keel, and he's so in tune with making sure the refs and etc. are not showcased to his true feelings about what's going on in the game, because he's always just, again, neutral. That's the feeling I get. All in all, do you wish that he was a little bit more emotional? And on a more serious note, because that relates to the conversation we're about to have, do you wish he was more riskier in his coaching? Because I think that's a good question to ask going into Game 6.
Okay, so I think I have 2 different answers to your questions. Do I wish he was more emotional? No, not really. I think you do want a coach who's even keeled behind the bench for the most part, unless the refs are really screwing you over. And I think, when Tocchet's felt that way, he is barking at the refs and trying to get his way. But I think of other coaches who've won the cup recently, the Bruce Cassidys, the Jared Bednars, the John Coopers. I mean, none of these guys are just raw guys behind the bench. I don't think that's what Tocchet needs to be. Now, in terms of him being riskier, yeah, I do wish he would take chances more, because, look, we saw in the regular season that when things were not going the Canucks' way, he was really, he switched lines in an instant, right? There was no waiting around with Rick Tocchet. This playoff version of Rick Tocchet feels a bit like Willie Desjardins, where In
Ooh.
that series, Willie Desjardins did not change things at all, did
Oh.
not change things until like the last minute. I think it was game 6. He finally made a change when the Canucks were down 3-2. So I look at the Canucks lines right now, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this a couple of times heading up to Friday's game. But there's one line on this team going right now, and it's the Suter, Miller, Besser line. Aside from that, no one's really going. Not even the Lindholm, Joshua Garland line, I think, is really going, even though they scored the 0-2 winner in game 4. So, yeah, I do wish Tocchet would take some more risks. And I know we're talk about Tocchet Science as well, but this whole mentality of like shoot the puck, get the puck to the net, I think all Canuck fans feel that right now. But Kyle, I'm going to argue this. I think in game 2, they tried to play by the Tocchet Science, and now I feel like they're just playing to what they're used to playing, which is, being opportunistic and looking for the sexy play. I'm not sure what the answer is. I don't know if neither of them's really worked for this team so far. So, like, what do you think is the answer for this team offensively to break out in the series and bring it home?
Well, 2 things. I think they got to get rid of the slap pass. Yesterday was the first time I wish Henrik and Daniel never existed. Okay, for real. No, it's just the truth. I've never seen a team so eager to convert on a slap pass in a playoff series in my life. Like, have they watched hockey before? Does any other offense operate like that, where they got to make sure 80% of their plays are finished or executed off of a slap pass? A pretty difficult thing to execute in an NHL playoff series, okay? If that's your main weapon of choice to score goals, you're thinking about this the wrong way. It's just the truth. The Canucks need to shoot the puck on net more, okay? The Canucks have scored 11 goals in this series, 10 goals in this series. What's the stat, 11?
11 on 91 shots.
Okay, two of those goals, and I know UC Soros played really good yesterday, especially in the first period, okay? Ironically, on a lot of those slap passes that quote-unquote did work for the Canucks in the first period, UC Soros, I don't know how we saw a couple of those, but he was making miraculous saves with his pads. Good job, blah, blah, blah. But man, oh man, 2 of the goals he's let in the series. The first one against Lindholm in game 1, horrible. And how about yesterday's goal against Zadorov? Kudos to Zadorov for doing his thing. But you get what I'm saying? Isn't that the obvious reason why you should shoot the puck a little bit more? And if you want to add another detail to it, look at how Nashville won the game. This is the playoffs, not the All-Star game. Get some garbage goals. It's the truth, man. The Canucks possessed the puck, put a couple on net. 92 shots in 5 games. Elias Pettersson, Elias Lindholm, Brock Besser, JT Miller, Connor Garland, Niels Höglander, Dakota Joshua. That is embarrassing. It is. Now, number 2, let's bring it up, because I brought this up a couple months ago. The Canucks were playing with fire. Rick Tocchet was playing with fire when he decided to make sure that he would go into the playoffs or meaningful games in March and April without using one of his best 2 lines he's found this season, okay? We have not seen Teddy Bluger play with Dakota Joshua and Connor Garland consistently since Joshua got hurt, which is weird. It's strange. It makes absolutely no sense. And also, we've barely seen the lotto line. Now, the lotto line is more of a desperation button, right? It's like that big red button with the box over it. But there should be no reason that the Canucks have waited this long with such a stagnant offense to avoid using the best third line in hockey. You know what I'm saying? It's actually weird. It's strange. Now, this is why I asked you about Tocchet and his lack of risk factor, okay? And we'll get to the non-challenge a bit later, okay? There's a reason why Rick Tocchet is not playing Bluger with those guys, because he feels as if he needs to have a 4-line team going into the playoffs. He needs to have a 4-line team going against Nashville. Bro, your offense has been stale since the All-Star game, and you're avoiding using one of your best lines. That's not how this works. And it's a big reason why, again, I think the Canucks overall have been so inconsistent offensively through this big stretch.
Yeah, again, Rick Tocchet wants to be a 4-line team, but the Canucks are a 1-line team right now. They're a 1-line team. And, like you said, Kyle, you look at the Nashville Predators, and it's not like they have a bunch of world beaters on their side of things either, right? I would argue that they're kind of a 1-line team too, right? If you shut down Forsberg, Nyquist, and O'Reilly, like, you've kind of done your job against the Nashville Predators. So, yeah, I think this is starting to become a big topic in the series. Tocchet not taking enough risks, being too stale and stagnant with the lineup that isn't scoring and has been a bottom 10 offense since the All-Star break. So, again, this Canucks team, they could theoretically beat the Predators with one line, but they're not going to go any further than that if they don't start to shake things up sometime soon.
No, 100%, man. 100%. It's been 5. Now it's been 5 full games. There has to be changes going into Game 6, and you know what? It's going to be changes that happen amongst the 12 players or the 12 forwards that we saw in yesterday's game and the 12 forwards we've seen all series. Because Podkolzin just got sent down to Abbotsford. Okay, he's not saving the Canucks. He's not doing it. So how does it look going into Game 6? It can't look the same. It can't. Now I know the Canucks played better. I know they played better. Okay, I know they played pretty good yesterday. Good possession numbers. 13 high danger scoring chances on 20 shots. Oh my God. I know. But it's still only 20 shots. Something has to change. And I guess I don't want to say the floor of Elias Patterson, but I think the standard of Elias Patterson is a really fascinating thing to follow throughout the series because we're just starting to grasp onto anything, right? I'm like, oh yeah, he's about to burst. We could see it. He was physical yesterday. He was better yesterday. He was skating hard. He was moving his feet, which was so funny. I mean, I think the last question Rick Tocchet got asked during his press conference yesterday was like, why do you think Patterson played better today? And Rick Tocchet was like, oh, he moved his feet. He moved his feet. That's all he said. Ironic. Anyways, the Canucks cannot go into 2 games, the last 2 games of this series, with not putting Elias Patterson with at least one high-end player. And I know they've tried to help him out in the past with Besser, et cetera, and Garland, et cetera, sometime in March and April. But we're talking about Game 6 and Game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs now. You know what I'm saying? They cannot put Elias Pettersson with Sam Lafferty or Ilya Mikheyev going into that game. So I think, and I know this may surprise you because Suter did play really well with Besser and Miller yesterday, but man, oh man, that guy has no finish. If he's at the end of all these great chances during a long shift in which Besser, Miller, and him and Hughes are dominating, it's not going to work out. He has 1 goal in this series. I think he may have 2 goals in his last 40 games. You know what I'm saying? So it's time to put the lotto line back together.
Let's preach that, buddy. And I have a hard time arguing against it. So, maybe on tomorrow's episode, let's go through the lines and the D pairs and talk more about what we want to see from the Vancouver Canucks. And maybe I'll give you a rebuttal for your take there, Kyle. On the other side, though, I do want to touch on...
There's no rebuttal, bro. There's no rebuttal. It's 92 shots in 5 games. It's Pius Suter being at the end of every single great scoring chance that we've gotten in this series. There's no rebuttal. It's like, dude, you're playing with fire, Tocchet. Bro, you're playing with fire. You continue to avoid using the best trios on your team. For what reason? Because you're playing the Nashville Predators and you wanna lock it down? This may make more sense against the Oilers or something, but not against Nashville when your team's struggling to find any offense. It's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, again, you are really hoping that the lotto line sparks Patterson, right? And again, I think the lotto line strategy can work against Nashville. So,
yeah.
Well, let's again, we got a couple more episodes until the Canucks play Nashville on Friday. On the other side, I do want to touch on some of the quotes from last night because you got Tocchet, you had Miller, and you had Zadorov, all angry for different reasons. So let's touch on some of the post-game comments from your Vancouver Canucks. Before we do that, let's shout out some of our friends, okay? Some of our friends over at eBay Motors and Game Time. All right, you know the deal. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit available only to U.S. customers.
Boom, bam. Shout out to eBay Motors, man. Shout out to my Honda Civic, man.
And shout out to Game Time. Okay, Kyle, I'll ask you this. So, for the listeners that don't know, I'm heading on a road trip for 2 weeks. So if the Canucks do make it to round 2, I'm going to be recording from some weird locations. But no, Kyle, I'm thinking about this. Right? I'm dreaming about Canucks and Edmonton round 2. If I'm in the Edmonton area and the Canucks are playing in Edmonton, do I go to the game?
I think you should, man. I think you should, and I think you should take your wife. That'd be fun. Because you know how you told me that you're like, you just moved in with your wife and the Canucks have sucked ever since you moved in with your wife, blah, blah, blah. So she hasn't really seen this side of you. I think going into the next phase of your relationship, right? You guys are both parents now and all this jazz. Get her to understand you even more and go to a road playoff game with her to see the real side of Trevor Beggs. Because I can only imagine how vicious, oh, that's a strong word, you'll become.
Yeah, it'll be a wild atmosphere. Oilers and Canucks. Hopefully we get there, man. Hopefully we get there. We will get there, okay? And I know that, whether I'm watching games in Vancouver or Edmonton, I'm using Game Time, baby. You know why? Because they got the lowest price guarantee, okay? What else do I need to say? If you find tickets cheaper anywhere else, Game Time will credit you with 110% of the difference, okay? Again, you get killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from the seat when you go in the app, and again, that lowest price guarantee. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account or redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
People, we back over here at the Don't Doze Art Lab on a Wednesday morning, May the 1st, doing our thing here on Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That right there is Trevor Beggs. Hey, join our Discord. The link is in the bio. That's where we talk about the Canucks on the toilet and man, oh man. Me and Mr. Whale, we got into it yesterday, okay? He was trying to defend this team for taking 92 shots in 5 games. Straight up. Oh, it's a defensive style of hockey. We're playing the Nashville Predators. Look at how many chances they got. Not many. Dude, they're the Nashville Predators. You know how lucky this team is to be playing the Nashville Predators in the first round of the playoffs? You know what the Canucks are playing like? The Canucks are playing like they were playing in the last 30 games. There really hasn't been a lot of strides being made here offensively with this team. And we always thought there was a runway for this team to figure it out. They didn't figure it out. Now we had Nashville. Oh, they'll figure it out against Nashville. Bro, they got 2 more games to, well, it could be only 1 game, but they really got to figure this out. And I think the biggest issue with the team, again, is their offense. And I'm excited to see some changes going into Game 6. But another obstacle that's in the way of this team, and I know we have a lot of things to talk about, we have to bring this up too, is Rick Tocchet's inability to take risks with challenges, okay? Straight up. There is no way in the world that we live in today, in 2024, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, that if that goal gets challenged, it's counting, okay? Did you see what happened against Tampa Bay in Florida in Game 5 a couple days ago? Tampa had 2 goals waved off for goaltender interference that weren't as obvious as what we saw yesterday. Now, I know, obscure play, right? Puck's laying there, Shelov's on his back. It's kind of a weird way to describe what inevitably led to goaltender interference. But, bro, whoever that Nashville player was absolutely did not make a hockey play. He didn't. That was a street hockey play. It wouldn't have counted. Now, Rick Tocchet did say he was 50-50 on it. 50-50. Bro, it's Game 5 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, round 1. You're up 3-1. Your penalty kill has been on fire. You take that challenge. And it's a damn shame that he didn't.
Yeah, I like the fire you're bringing, Kyle. I'm not going to lie. When I saw that in the moment, I thought it, like talking, that was a 50-50 call. And I honestly thought that if they challenged, it was not going to go the Canucks' way. Now, you bring up an interesting point about the goaltender interference in the Tampa series. But I just think it's one of those challenges, and it's been that way for years, that, every time you think it's going to count, it doesn't count, and vice versa, right? So I wasn't super confident that if they challenged, that it was going to count. Now, that being said, I think there's something to be said about taking the risk and then trusting your penalty kill, which has been great all series. I mean, that counted as a power play goal there. And it was as greasy as they come in terms of power play goals.
Well, so how did the goal go in? Did the goalie get pushed into the puck? Answer that question.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Right? Yossi shot the puck. It got through Shelov's, sat in the blue paint, and then Nyquist, rammed the net and push Shilov's in. That's the way I saw it. That's the way Shilov saw it after the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an unfortunate play, but would it have changed the game? I don't know. I mean, you look at some of the chances, the Canucks get more scoring chances. Nashville had a couple of posts. I mean, it was just one of those games that it was close. The Canucks were the better team, but it was a close game overall.
Mhm.
I thought one of the most interesting things that was said post game, though, came from both Tocchet and Miller, who both of them lambasted the power play. Miller brought it up unprompted and said, our power play was awful. It needs to be better. He talked about how it sucked the momentum out of the building. Canucks only had 2 power plays, but, I think Miller had a point that,
It did.
Again, their entries weren't clean and they weren't moving their feet, was kind of what he said in terms of why the power play wasn't working. So, I mean, the power play and special teams won them game 3. It won them game 4. You could argue it lost them game 5.
Yeah, and look at this comment from Dingbat, okay? It's a really good comment, okay? You could tell the nerves were getting to our young guns last night. We were over-aggressive and lost that finishing composure. I will also add that they lost that passing composure, right? We talked earlier about the lack of execution on these slap passes, right? A lot of that has to do with the nerves and trying to be perfect and overthinking and maybe applying too much sauce on this powerful slap pass. Well, if you want to break that down to the power play, it kind of connects to Brock Besser's lack of ability to gain the zone. There was one power play there where I think he effed up about 3 times in one zone entry. And keep in mind, those 2 Canuck power plays in the second period came after the Canucks dominated on the penalty kill. There was a chance for the Canucks to take over the game there, and they didn't. And I got to bring up the names again. We're talking about Lindholm, Besser, Miller, Patterson, and Quinn Hughes. There's a big reason why I get pissed off when I keep saying this team has 92 shots over 5 games. We're not the Arizona Coyotes. We're not the Nashville Predators. You know what I'm saying? There's something going on offensively with this team. It's been happening since the All-Star break, and it's a damn shame. But you know what? The hockey gods, and hockey's a weird sport, and all this jazz doesn't make sense at the end of the day. So there's still a chance for things to turn around. But man, oh man, the lack of offense and the lack of execution on the power play or not is scary, because this is just round 1. And I know that we had Popeye talking about how, like maybe we have to relax because this is the first year the Canucks, doing their thing, right? Look at this comment. They managed to win with the third string goalie. Be happy with what we get. It's the beginning of a long run. And I think he's alluding to the long run being this window for the Vancouver Canucks. I get it. I understand it. I'm patient. I've watched sports many times. There's not a lot of teams that, after missing the playoffs for 46 straight years, get into the playoffs and win the cup. I get it. That doesn't happen. At the same time, though, if your franchise trades 8 to 10 picks in 12 months, you got to get out of the first round. It's just the truth. That's the type of experience you need. And I know this is the trauma and the emotion speaking right now, but your team also can't blow a 3-1 lead in a playoff series. And right now, with the lack of offense that we've shown over this whole series, that's a possibility. It really is. So this team needs to, in retrospect, or not in retrospect, but in reality, bring their A game. And I don't think that's something that we've seen all series long. It's the truth. There hasn't been this A game from the Vancouver Canucks. Now, you can bring up game 2 and this 97 shot attempts or whatever, but they still only got 18 on net. You can't tell me that's their A game.
No, I agree. Again, there's an argument that they kind of played down to the Nashville Predators a bit. But I'll say this too, Kyle. You talk about their offense not being good since the All-Star break. Look, the Canucks have not been a high-shooting team all season long, right? This is why we're having the whole PDO talk in the first half of the season, is because they were the highest-scoring team in the NHL, but they were bottom half of the league in terms of shots on net. It's kind of been their MO all season long, that they are opportunistic. They go for the high-quality play rather than just getting pucks on net. So, for all this Tocchet science, all the preaching Tocchet's doing, it just has not been this Canucks team all season long. But again, there's an argument for shooting the puck more because, again, look at Zadorov's goal last night. End-to-end, shoots it from a weird angle. Saros looked incredibly awkward on that goal. And again, I think Zadorov was probably the best Canuck again last night. Now, Kyle, before we cut to break, I did want to mention and shout out to Amphis with a comment here.
Oh,
4 even strength goals in the last 4 games.
Is that right. The truth, Trevor?
That's the truth. Yep. Yeah, it's 4 even strength goals in the last 4 games.
Oh my God.
And 2 of them are from Nikita Zadorov.
Oh my God, dude.
So I will say this before we get to break, though. I mean, Zadorov again scored last night. He's been one of the best Canucks in this series. Were you surprised that he was criticizing the officials after the game? I mean, it was pretty blatant about it.
No, he's an emotional dude. I'm not surprised that he would do that. It's a little bit risky though, for real, because the Canucks have already paid the price for doing something similar back in February, I believe. But yeah, he's just an emotional dude. And the way that game ended too, the Joshua penalty, the lack of a goaltender interference challenge, it kind of connects to the referees being a part of the game. But all in all, give credit where credit is due. The Nashville Predators showed a lot of resiliency, for real. It's the truth. They did, bro. They're okay. Keep in mind this: they just blew a 2-goal lead at their own barn in 3 minutes, right? Then they go into Game 5, and they weathered the storm in the first period. The Canucks are buzzing, doing their thing. They go into the second period, and now the Nashville Predators are buzzing. But what's getting in their way? A third-string goaltender. You fast forward into the third period, right? 3 minutes in, Nikita Zadorov goes coast to coast and goes bar down. A pretty nice goal from our angle, but if you're on the Nashville Predators bench, you're like, there's a chance for them to be like, yo, this is not our series. But what do? In a barn like Rogers Arena. Yo, if there's any MVP for the Vancouver Canucks outside of Nikita Zadorov and Artur Shilovs and Ian Clark in this playoff series, it's the Canucks fans. They've been so amazing. They put a whole new narrative and a new spin on what Rogers Arena should sound like game in and game out. Straight up. But there's Nashville being resilient and doing their thing, and they deserve a lot of credit. I mean, a lot of the reasons why we're complaining about the shot numbers, right? It's because Nashville's not making it easy. There's another team on the other side, and they've done their thing, man. They've done their thing. This series could easily be 3-2 for Nashville. That's just the truth. I think so.
But,
it isn't.
But thankfully it isn't. And that's playoff hockey, baby. Again, I see your argument, Kyle, and I think the Canucks' skill has gotten them to a 3-2 lead. Their defense has gotten them to a 3-2 lead. Shout out to yesterday's episode as well. Let's wrap up the show talking a little bit more about the defense, okay? And the most important guy on the Canucks defense. Get to some comments as well. Before we do that, let's shout out our friends over at Monopoly Go. All right, game off here on Locked On Canucks. We got to pause here and talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that. But there's just so much good stuff in this game, baby. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get, including unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting your friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover with Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on, mother.
Wow, dude. Game on, mother. Did you just swear? Trevor, man, it's a family program, you asshole. People, we back here at the Don't Those Art Lab talking about your Vancouver Canucks, man. Oh man, Kyle Bowen and my second best pal, Trevor Beggs, doing our thing. Trevor Beggs trying to cope with this emotional Hindu that he has to talk to every morning. And Beggsy, a couple minutes ago, before, going live here on YouTube, you called me out, man. You called me out. You delivered some pretty historic news, and you want to tell the listeners what I said after you did so?
Yeah, so I messaged Kyle and I said, Hughes just officially got nominated for the Norris. And Kyle's response was, "Who cares?"
I said, "Who
cares?"
Gives a beat?
It's been 54 years, man. Okay, I'll tell you this: Jim Hughes, Quinn Hughes' dad, was 4 years old when the Canucks came into existence. Quinn Hughes wasn't even a little sperm at that point. Okay. And what's happened now? 54 years have gone by, and the Canucks finally have their first Norris nominee. It's hard to believe, man. It's hard to believe. And Quinn Hughes is one of the reasons why you and I have been so optimistic, so bullish on the future of the Vancouver Canucks. And in terms of the series as well, we haven't quite seen the best of Quinn Hughes. I'm certainly not saying he's been bad. I think territorially he's been good. He's learning to cope with the physicality of playoff hockey. But, no goals, 5 assists in 5 games. There's another level to Quinn Hughes. And I do think it's a reason why the Canucks are going to end up winning the series.
Wow, dude. So you're calling it, eh? 2 goals, 1 assist on Friday? Look, okay.
I think he's scoring. I'll say it that way. I think he's scoring.
Okay, so you see that goal by Carrier yesterday? It's like, Quinn Hughes could make that shot, But I feel as if there's whatever's like ailing Quinn Hughes, his reluctantness to shoot from the top of the blue line is pretty evident, right? Because he doesn't already have a hard shot, and maybe this injury is taking some miles off of that shot. Anyways, Canucks again get their first ever Norris nomination, right? That's crazy in itself. It's one thing to not win a Norris Trophy in the organization here on the West Coast, the best coast of Canada, right? It's pretty embarrassing that it took this long, but we're talking about a nomination here. And bro, I said who gives a beep when he told me because it was the obvious. We knew this was going to happen. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It's obvious. I'm forward. I'm looking forward to the team success, and I know I should be patient and all this jazz. But again, getting out of the first round is then going to have me look back at the season being a successful season. I know we made strides and we proved everyone wrong, but if this team doesn't get out of the first round, that's not going to be the case. And Quinn Hughes, if you want to say he needs to be better to help this team get out of the first round, you can say it. But at the same time, I'll say that I've been pretty impressed. I've been pretty impressed. He's been solid, dealing with what he's dealing with. I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy, but if you just want to break down yesterday's game, I know he did screen Shelovs on the second goal, but all in all, he was pretty good. He was pretty clean. And a big reason why the Canucks were able to get to 20 shots yesterday, right? Not 12 or 16, was because Hughes was a lot better in transitioning the puck and doing his thing. And Trevor, can we do this? Can we do this before we get out of here? Okay. Can we do this? Can we talk about Patterson? Can we do it just a bit? Because
I suppose
there's a big reason why we're in game 6, right? When I made my prediction, I said the Canucks will win this in 5 games as Patterson wakes up. And look at that. Look at that, right? We're not, that's not going to happen. It didn't happen. The Canucks are going to game 6. They've used 3 goaltenders. Patterson has 2 assists, 0 goals, AKA no ish. We're in game 6. Do you feel as if you saw enough yesterday to convince the fan base and this organization and this team that one of their best players is going to bring his A game on Friday? Okay. I don't want to talk about Sunday. If the Canucks lose on Friday, I'm going bald by Sunday. I don't want to go there. Okay. I don't want to go there. It's just the truth. So can you like give some love to not just Patterson, but to our fan base and let them understand that, don't worry, we're playing the Nashville Predators and one of our best players in franchise history is going to wake up finally and score a couple goals. Because all we need is a couple goals.
It's funny. I feel like you kind of set me up there, to be honest. And then you kind of wanted me to give the optimistic angle. But look, you asked, did I see it? Did I see enough from Patterson yesterday to make me think that he's going to bring his A game? No, I didn't. I feel like we're grasping at straws when we're talking about Patterson's game. Okay, I think he drew a penalty yesterday. He had some good entries into the offensive zone, but we're grasping at straws here. This is one of the most talented players in the NHL who does not have confidence, does not have his wheels, is not on his game right now. I actually thought he had a couple good plays shorthanded as well. He had some good plays shorthanded, but again, I think he needs a bounce to go his way. I thought that line had some more zone time, but honestly, I thought Tocchet summed it up pretty well. Yeah, I was asked by Chris Faber about and they were being more physical and how he thought they played. Tocchet said, yeah, they were fine. And I think that got up, right? And Patterson just can't be fine again. I think he can be fine against Nashville, and the Canucks can win this series. I think there's enough skill. Shout out to JT Miller. Shout out to Brock Besser. Shout out to Quinn Hughes. Shout out to Nikita, Big Zaddy, bringing that big Zaddy energy. Okay. They can win the series without Elias Patterson, but they ain't going to go much farther than that. And I hope that bounce comes. And again, it might be a lineup change that's going to have to get him there. But I can't confidently say that I think he's going to break out based on how he played yesterday.
Trevor, I'm usually the Deepak Chopra optimistic Hindu on the program, but I don't think the Canucks are winning this series if Patterson doesn't wake up. Bro, we just have four even straight goals in 4 games, 92 shots in 5 games. Bro, Patterson's obviously the missing piece of this puzzle. It's just the truth. And if he's not going to wake up, the Canucks are going to lose this series. Okay. We've used 3 goaltenders. Okay. Archer Shelov's looking like UC Saros. Real talk. Like, we're doing the most. Other guys are pulling the rope. It's time for him to do so. And if he doesn't, we're going to lose the series. It's just the truth. We'll talk more about Shelovs tomorrow. Like, you want something else to say? Because I feel like we'll spend the Shelovs minutes tomorrow. Okay, we'll do that tomorrow. Talk more changes and whatnot, because obviously Shelovs played his ass off yesterday. What a performance! That's the future backup of the Vancouver Canucks. What a dude! What a gamer! Just so effing proud of that guy. But let's spend all those minutes tomorrow. Okay, Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bound, Locked On Canucks. We hope we made you feel better about what happened last night, because I don't know if that's the case, but hey man, we're just some emotional hockey fans. Beggsy, I'm really grateful for your tutelage and expertise, and your persistence on making sure that I'm not too emotional. Okay. Anyways, join the Discord, link in the bio. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out a lot. And we are very grateful to be doing this with you and you and you and you and you and you. I know Beggsy and I don't get corny and cheesy a lot on the program, but I don't know. I feel as if we're living the dream, man. And that's not actually possible if people are not tuning in. And we've had a lot of people tune into the program over the last couple of weeks. And a lot of those people have been with us for like 14 months. So again, we're living the dream, super blessed, and go Canucks go.
Hey, and at the end of the day, as much as we're kind of criticizing and breaking down what happened after a loss, as Anthony says right here, at least excitement is back to Vancouver hockey. Okay, we're talking about a team that is still 1 win away from round 2 for the first time in a non-COVID era since 2011. Again, the last time they won a playoff series on the road was 2011 against the Nashville Predators. That's what I'm thinking of. So let's make it happen. On Friday, we're going to break down Shelovs, the lineup, any other news and notes prior to that game. But again, we got to get out of here for now. Shout out to the everydayers, occasional listeners, first-time listeners, new subscribers, and those of you who joined us on the live YouTube show. And we nothing without you. Again, go Canucks, go. You've been listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Cal Bound. And we'll catch you next time here on Locked On Canucks.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team